I guess they were all. I thought they were all good presentations, and in a lot of different ways. So thanks to all the people who presented. Thank you. It was interesting. The one that jumped out at me is Kahuna. Probably a little unfair because I know a little bit about them coming in and go at them. But I'd say the reason they're trying to be unbiased is there's tons and tons of mobile apps. There's a lot of a lot of organizations that are willing to spend money to make those mobile apps successful. So it's a big market, it's a big audience, big market opportunity. They're already showing demonstrable results, solving a real problem if we're using the framework that David mentioned earlier. And we were just talking about this earlier. I mean, the interface looks sophisticated, well vetted. So for what we'd be interested in, that probably jumped out at me a little bit more than the other ones, although the other ones are interesting.
Not to build consensus on the non-David table, but I tend to agree with Dan on Kahuna. And I asked him, I was like, I'm not familiar with a lot of companies doing this sort of mobile notification with this level of maturity. And I thought it was really cool to see. I mean, I've worked in a couple places now where we've implemented this in-house and it's had that same level of sophistication. But that's not something that's scalable to a lot of startups or to companies that just want to handle this as more of a marketing problem. And I think it's really exciting to be able to have a tool similar to ExactTarget was kind of what I raised. And I remember when they first started like 10 or 12 years ago, a company that I was doing marketing at used them, and I was like, I could build this tomorrow for you guys. And obviously ExactTarget has done very well for themselves. So Kahuna reminds me a lot of that.
David's.
So I thought they were all really good presentations. I'm jumping on the bandwagon here. So I did think Kahuna, because it does answer a big problem that every mobile app has. In fact, the reason why I also picked is I think Kahuna could be used in some of the other applications that were presented here today, right? When was the last time you loaded Kojoy and you have these earrings still in your car, right? So there's broad application, not just for e-commerce, but also in retail, but also beyond that. So that's why I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think again, from a market opportunity and just the simplified message and applicability, I think Kahuna wins. Again, just with that first statement of solving that gap between installs and active users, #1 challenge across the board from the app community. I feel good is interesting, I think, because I think there's a lot of relevance, and I like the pivot. I think if you can, and it's a chicken and egg problem, but if you actually get enough relevant offers to the things that people are buying, that gets really interesting. I think the challenge is obviously getting to that critical mass. EM Labs, certainly you got a reference customer in the Dolphins, which is pretty cool. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how that market plays out. And Kojoy obviously is probably the closest to what we do every day. I mean, it's showrooming in its best form, I think. And so I think the challenge will just be how do you get the right content from all the retailers, get them bought in, and get that mass adoption.
David?
I'm actually going to go with EM Labs because there's a little nuance about them that was probably lost on most people, but because I've seen this 15 times, they actually had something that's very unique. So there's a lot of people out there that are really pushing BLE and NFC and iBeacons, and so there's a lot of competition in the space. But what's really missing here is actually managing all of the devices. So I know this personally because I have 4,000 stores. Imagine if I drove iBeacons in 4,000 stores. I'd have to manage 4,000 times 100 per store. That's 400,000 iBeacons. And the little nuance in what they talked about in there is they actually have a management system, which I haven't seen a lot of. And that's kind of a big missing link. And so I was pretty impressed with what they've been able to do. A lot of folks are focusing on the hardware or the software, and they're kind of bringing it together.
Okay, thank you. So this sort of ends the content portion of tonight. So you guys are welcome. We have the room until